Why would Suge Knight, the only living witness in the car with Tupac the night he was shot, refuse to testify against the man, Keefe D, that they accuse of unaliving Tupac? Because Suge Knight doesn't want justice. He wants leverage. To understand what Suge is actually doing, you have to look at what just happened in Las Vegas. After 27 years, police finally arrest Dwayne Keefe D. Davis for orchestrating the unaliving of Tupac. The prosecution's case is strong, but they are missing their golden ticket, the man sitting right next to Tupac when the bullets started flying. When TMZ called Suge Knight at the Richard J. Donovan Correction Facility to ask if he would take the stand, his answer shocked the internet. He said, "I wouldn't wish prison on my worst enemy," and flat out refused to cooperate. The media immediately wrote this off as street politics. They assumed Suge was just honoring the anti-snitching code of his era. But if you know anything about his history, Suge Knight's history, you know he doesn't operate on honor. He operates on power. Suge is currently serving a 28-year sentence for involuntary manslaughter. He has no empire left, no money, no influence, except for one thing: his silence. And he knows exactly who is terrified of what he might say if he's put under oath. To decode the street threat Suge Knight is making today, we have to look back at the blueprint he created over 30 years ago. Long before the Tupac trial, Suge Knight built his empire through a very specific negotiation tactic: physical and psychological extortion. Yeah, that's right. I said it, people. Extortion. People on the street might use a different term. They might call Suge Knight a bully. Let's go back to 1990 when Suge wanted publishing rights to Vanilla Ice smash hit Ice Ice Baby. According to hip hop lore, and Vanilla Ice himself, Suge didn't send a lawyer. He allegedly cornered the rapper on the 15th floor of a balcony of the Bel Air Hotel and dangled him over the edge until he signed over the rights. Suge got the money, and he put that money into Death Row Records. Or he could have bought himself another Rolls Royce. Who knows what he did with that money, because he was living way beyond his means. But this is Suge Knight's playbook. You find what someone loves or what someone fears, and you hold it against them. You hold them hostage. He did it to Eazy-E. He did it to Dr. Dre to get Dr. Dre out of his contract. He did it to record executives. And now he's doing it from a 6x9 cell in broad daylight on national television on a show called TMZ. He can't throw somebody off the balcony now when he's locked up in solitary confinement. So Suge upgraded his tactics. He traded the hotel balcony for a Spotify podcast and TMZ phone interview. He's not holding people over a ledge anymore. He's holding them over a legal ledge. And his prime target isn't Keefe D, it's Diddy. Now, before we get into the specifics, let's talk about Suge Knight's podcast. And should he have a podcast? They're turning jail and prison into day camp. How can a convicted unaliver write a book, make money off the book, have a podcast, be able to talk about Diddy and his opinions on this and that? But let's save that for another video. Back to his podcast where he talks about Diddy on the daily. He said that Diddy was an FBI informant being protected by the government. Oh, really, Suge? Is that why he's in jail right now? Because he's an FBI informant? But let's look at the timing. He's saying this now as everybody's preparing to watch the Tupac trial. He didn't say this back in the 90s when he was a free man. He didn't want to talk about it then. His answer was no comment, no comment. I don't snitch, no comment. He didn't want to talk about how Tupac had a 3-album deal with him, how Tupac made $60 million for Death Row and collected nothing. He didn't want to talk about how Tupac's album, All Eyes on Me, was a double album. So that counted as 2 albums. He also did a 3rd album called The Don Killuminati. So right there, that was Tupac's 3 albums, which means he was no longer under contract for Death Row. He did not want to confront those rumors. Until this day, he still hasn't confronted those rumors. But the rumors get worse. They're saying when Tupac went to collect his money from his 3 albums, he was told there was no money. In fact, they said that he was 4.9, or if you round it up, $5 million in the hole. And that $5 million included the bail money that Suge used to get Tupac out of prison. Now, what kind of bail is $5 million? I mean, I would have just stayed there, because I wouldn't even want to be on the record of owing anybody $5 million if it was $5 million. That is, if you believe the media, who reported it to be $1.4 million to secure his release, which meant he should have got the money back after court. And let me tell you, people, Tupac was no dummy. He had been to jail before. He knows that you get your bond back after court. As long as Tupac didn't skip town, he was going to get that money back. But not according to Suge. He said that the government kept that money. So according to the rumors, Tupac starts making moves to leave death row. And he started by firing the company's attorney, David Kenner. Now, Kenner wasn't your average attorney. He was actually business partners with Suge. In fact, him, Suge, and a drug dealer named Harry O. took drug money and founded Death Row Records. So firing David Kenner was a huge sign to Suge Knight that Tupac wasn't playing around. He was getting ready to bounce. Now, if that wasn't a sign, this next move was definitely, I would say, a checkmate move. Tupac decides to hire his own attorneys and ordered an audit by his independent attorneys to figure out where was his money going and why didn't he have any money and why was his home in Suge Knight's name. Then he filed legal paperwork to open a production company that he called Euthanasia. That's a hell of a name. He even started wearing his Euthanasia emblem around his neck. He was not scared of Suge Knight when he probably should have been. So Euthanasia was going to be for his acting, because let's not forget he was an actor also, as in Poetic Justice, one of my favorites. Then he opened a record label called Machiavelli, and there are documents to support that claim. But I don't need to support that claim because I'm old. I remember vividly, all of a sudden one day, Tupac started calling himself Machiavelli. And I was like, Maca what? What is happening? I didn't know it was a business move. So according to rumors, it was Suge Knight that unalived Tupac Shakur. He planned it all out. He also allegedly planted the story of Diddy putting a $1 million hit out on Tupac. So according to the rumors, that interview that he did with TMZ yesterday was actually a threat to Keefe D to keep his mouth shut. And on top of that, maybe help him get out. That's why he kept saying, make this right for everybody. Also, this is why, according to the rumors, that Keefe D is so fearful. He is fearful. And when you guys see him in court, look in his eyes. He is scared. Now, according to the rumors, everybody that can vouch for this story is allegedly dead. I did find it weird that everybody started popping up dead. Now, according to the rumors, nobody is alive to know what happened that day except for Keefe D. But I'm being told that Tupac did an interview with a reporter that Suge knew nothing about, and he explained everything to this reporter in detail. He also did an interview with a guy named Kevin Powell, which he talked about Euthanasia Records being like a new birth, and he wanted to start all over. He also talked about having a meeting that was scheduled the day after he died with Nas so they could bring some kind of peace to the West Coast, East Coast beef. What's even more strange is that in this interview that he did with Kevin Powell, he talks about his plan for, the new record company and the new production company. And he also said, he feels like he's going to die. This is what he said. He said, I don't want to die, but if I do die, I hope it's without pain. Wow. Also, I'm going to stop here. There's so much more to this that the public just doesn't know about. So I'm going to report on it. My next video is going to be about Diddy and Big Meech. Don't forget, everybody that we're talking about, they live that life. And so that's different from our life. But in the meantime, let me know down in the comments section, do you believe these rumors? If so, why? And if not, why? Until next time, bye for now.